Okay, sorry about that, folks. I don't know what happened there. But it looks like we're good. The heat is getting to me. Anyway, so Kenny will be joining us again shortly. I just sent him an invite. Waiting on you, Kenny. Also, JT, if you're watching, aha, there we are. Okay, we're live?
Yes, we're live.
So, what?
We are live, okay. All right, we ready? What were we saying?
I was saying it's like, so sorry about Thursday Tech Talk. JT also might not be able to make it to Sunday night stream, just fair warning. So let's get into, and aside from that, we've got a new little thing that we're going to start tacking onto the front end of TokuCHATsu, is a little bit of news.
All right, so we have two things. I will let you cover the part about Garo. Wait, did you not know about Garo?
I do actually. I have watched Garo.
Okay. I will start off by saying, for all you anime otakus out there who may have watched a legendary anime that I have constantly bragged about being my all-time favorite, Space Battleship Yamato, the director of Mission Impossible will be directing a live-action version of the English dub from the 70s called Star Blazers. We do not have a cast yet, but Amy Howard Wilson, who portrays Nova, the English dub of Yuki, who is the English version of Yuki from Star Blazers, has officially confirmed this because he has contacted her about it and all that. I know. They will be first. He's finishing the next Mission Impossible movie, then he'll be starting on this. So it'll expect it within the next 5 years.
Which is exciting.
Yes, I'm really excited. I absolutely love this anime. It's my all-time favorite. I highly recommend it to everyone. Had a great.
Now the question is though,
movie. Yes.
Do you feel like anything from the original could be lost in translation here?
Well, season 3 maybe, because if they adapt season 3 was sort of where Star Blazers got lost in translation of adapting, because the anime Japanese version lost funding at around season 3 and just went into the down heaps. So out of this, there's going to be a point where they're just going to have to just make something adapting this into a trilogy, like completing the story.
That's fair.
Yeah.
On my end, they just announced that they will be releasing Garo, the Makai Knight, the live-action version, the TokuCHATsu, as a DVD set in America. I think it was next year.
I thought it was this fall.
It's this fall?
Ah. It's this
well,
fall.
That just means it gets here soon. But yeah, actually, Garo is a great series. If you haven't seen the live-action version, I would highly recommend it. It's nice and dark and gory. The characters are a little bland. They're the broody type, but I love the effects. I love the armor designs.
It's very explicit also. It's like watching Japanese Game of Thrones.
Yeah, kind of. It's very
you do see women's chests in it. So don't watch your kids. I mean, we do not watch it with your kids.
Do not watch with your kids, man. That is a recipe for disaster.
We at the dojo do not condone kids under the age of 18 watching Garo.
Well,
but we will not stop you from doing it.
Well, 16.
16, okay.
Because like at that point, you're mature enough to understand what's going on. It's a TV series. It's not like you're gonna go out and just do the stuff you see in it at age 16. You're smarter than that.
So, are we ready to talk about Ultraman?
Yes. Well, we're going to talk about Ultraman today, guys. Before we get into that, though, a little bit of history about the show.
I will let you explain since you know more about that part.
All right. Well, to get into Ultraman, first we have to start off with a season that is just barely in the same subgenre of Toku as Ultraman. Self, Godzilla. Now, we all know Godzilla's a Toho property. It's probably one of the first and most famous tokusatsu series out there, especially as far as movies go.
Mm-hmm.
Now, what I can say is that, see, Toho actually lent a couple of costumes and sound effects to Toei Studios. And using those costumes and sound effects, as well as a few of their own, they created their own almost Twilight Zone-esque series called Ultra Q. And it was just
was this Toei or Tsuburaya? I thought it was Tsuburaya.
Pardon?
Was that Toei? Q by Toei? I thought it was Tsuburaya.
The Toei logo splashes on the front before they run the title.
Okay.
So if they didn't make it, they had something to do with it. Either way, Godzilla had a big influence on the show, and it got so popular that it actually got a sequel series after it ended that actually focused on a main story, had consistent characters and plots, and that ended up being called Ultraman.
Mm-hmm.
Now, quick description of Ultraman, if you wouldn't mind, Kenny. Yeah?
Is Hayata in Ultra Q?
I do not believe so.
Shin Hayata?
Just some of the monsters.
Okay, what about the Science Patrol?
Not that I'm aware of.
What about the Science Patrol?
Not that I know of.
Okay. Q tie into to Ultraman.
So, well, actually, Ultraman faces a lot of the monsters that debuted in Ultra Q, like Black King.
Mm-hmm.
Which, by the way, Black King is actually a modified Godzilla costume with slightly modified sound effects.
Oh, yeah, that is true. And he has the frilled lizard thing on him, right?
Yes, I believe so.
Mm-hmm. All right. Then we get an Ultraman.
Yep. Now, why don't you give us a quick rundown of what Ultraman is about?
Me?
Yeah. Why don't you give us a quick rundown?
Ultraman is the basic premise of Ultraman, and this is the 1966 one I'm talking about. Is there is this government organization or Japanese government organization called the Science Patrol, or hold on, the S Search Party, the SSSP, who are tasked with patrolling and neutralizing extraterrestrial threats. Our main character Shin Hayata was out on a nightly patrol. An orb crashed into his ship, killing him. Yes, sir. Okay.
Well, he does that. I'll give you the quick rundown. Essentially, he fuses. Well, essentially, he fuses with the being known as Ultraman. What we would come to know as the first Ultraman as we continue to watch the series. And what this essentially means is that now Ultraman is part of a special patrol from the Land of Light, also called Nebula S72? Nebula something or other. And he's part of a special patrol to save planets known as the Space Garrison. And so this something called a beta capsule, which allows him to turn into Ultraman. Or that's more or less the long and short of it. I haven't watched the original series. I've watched several of the subsequent ones. I know, lynch me, lynch me, throw hate comments at me, whatever you want. It's like, I deserve it. I've been meaning to watch it for ages now, and I never get around to it. Now, this was kind of one of again another early stage in the tokusatsu hero genre, because Ultraman is technically a hero and a kaiju at the same time.
I'm so sorry. That was urgent, and that was a urgent rush to, and couldn't notify.
Yeah, I got you.
So
I gave him I left off where Hayate was given the beta capsule and explained why Ultraman is that Ultraman is part of the space garrison.
Okay. Wait. So how he's the space garrison, how the Green? Did you explain how it's kind of like the Green Lantern Corps?
I didn't make that comparison, but that's actually a good comparison.
Yes. The Ultraman Corps. I call them the Ultraman Corps. I'm not really sure what the real elite name is.
Space Garrison.
Space Garrison are universe. They are stationed in sectors. Each Ultra is stationed in a different sector to protect from for example, Ultraman 1 or Ultraman Hayata, as he's called, was stationed at Earth because he was chasing down Bemler, and then Bemler crashed into the ocean while Ultraman crashed into Hayata. And after feeling guilty for killing Hayata, he spared Hayata's life and bonded his soul with him to save him and to regrowth his body. And whenever Hayata and then Ultraman gave Hayata the beta capsule, which allows him to transform into Ultraman at will for about 10 minutes. A monster attacks. He has 10 minutes to fight.
Yep, it does get radically shorter over the years.
In fact, Ben 10 was actually somewhat inspired by Ultraman.
Was it? Yeah, I guess the time limit thing.
I think that there was an Ultraman in there also.
Huh. Anyway, now, why only 10 minutes? Well, you have a creature that large, and it is explained in the lore that the reason they're able to become what they are is in the manga anyway, is because they are absorbing light from their plasma spark, their artificial sun. And all of their transformation devices contain a tiny little piece of that artificial sun that allows them to transform. Now, how do we know when they're running out of time? Well, it's fairly obvious. Again, think Ben 10. They have a little organ in their chest called a color timer. And when they start growing weak or running out of time, that begins to flash red.
Yes. Or purple in some cases based on the lighting.
Yes, based on lighting.
And then when that happens, he usually uses his final attack at that point, a big...
Yep, the Ultra Beam.
That can kill anything it hits. And then he after the monster's defeated, he flies off and then
transforms back.
Yeah, but we don't see how it happens. It's super quick, and that could just be an issue with a plot hole issue.
A continuity issue, yeah. Well, again, the original transformation was just like they took a photo of Ultraman looking up, and they would just blow it up 3 times on screen so that it would look like he was growing.
Mm-hmm. But remember when he flies away, 10 seconds later, he comes rushing in. Hayata comes rushing in.
Yep, now that's a long distance for any human to travel, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
So,
But shall we talk about some monsters?
yeah, let's talk about some monsters. Let's talk about Black King for a second first, because I mentioned that earlier.
Mm-hmm.
Black King was a monster from Ultra Q. It was actually one of the first monsters in Ultra Q in the first episode. And if you listen really closely, you'll notice that he's got a voice quite similar to Godzilla's, and that's not a coincidence. That is actually a one of Godzilla's roars distorted slightly. Now,
Which version of Godzilla was that they turned into?
The one with the cartoony looking eyes.
I want to say Monster Zero.
That could be it.
The head shape is giving it to me.
I could see that, yeah. Also, ladies and gentlemen, I apologize for my sewing. I've got a couple of patches I've been meaning to sew onto my jacket, and this is the only time I'm going to have to get around to it.
Mm-hmm. And then, what did you want to say about Black King? Is that it?
I love that he actually is a version of Godzilla, and in that way, it can kind of give you a little bit of headcanon as to like how Godzilla could tie into Ultraman, because the only time Ultraman and Godzilla have ever fought was in a stage play at a supermarket.
Huh. You're serious?
Oh yeah, it was a good stage play. Like they had the special effects projected onto a screen on the background and everything.
Awesome.
But it was still just a stage play. I believe you can find it on YouTube. Yes.
Okay.
We'll look it up after we're.
About my favorite Ultraman monster, Bolton.
Bolton Seiji. Yes, I actually have the Ultra EG scanner, the Ultra Egg scanner, and Bolton Seiji is one of the sample sounds you can get.
Did you know that he has one of the most evil laughs you'll ever hear in history?
Oh yeah.
His laugh actually made it on like the top 100 most evil laughs, or something like that.
Yeah, it's creepy.
When you first saw Ultraman and heard that laugh, how creeped out were you?
I thought, this is gonna be the night that I die, isn't it?
What?
Bold-faced, I just thought, yeah, this is gonna be the night that I die, isn't it?
I loved his multiple ability. How Bolton was actually just a whole race of people with the same mind.
Yeah.
They were like
I kind of like that.
Think about it.
Yeah, a bit like Brainiac. We're talking the original Brainiac, not Brainiac 5, right? All right, yeah.
Like in the episode, it was like, and it was one of my favorite lines of dialogue in the English dub of Ultraman. It came from Bolton. It was, we want to take over your Earth. We're going to enslave the people and make you It's like, what about Mars? Can't you take over Mars? We don't like Mars. It is boring there. We want Earth.
Yeah, old English dubs of Japanese movies and series.
You remember that dialogue of that joke, right?
Like I said, well, the thing is, like, I've never actually watched the original series.
Okay.
It's on my list, but
you need to get the original. You can buy it. You can.
I probably should own it on DVD too.
It's one of my absolute favorites.
Yeah, so worth getting on DVD then.
Say that again, please.
It's worth owning on DVD then?
Yes, it is. I proudly own it right here.
All right, then I may have to get it myself.
Mm-hmm. You can find it at pretty much any place that sells movies. It'll be like in the foreign stuff area. Distribute, if it helps, it was distributed by Mill Creek Entertainment.
Yep, I'll have to check that out.
And other than that, in terms of Ultraman, all I've seen is a bit of X.
Actually, that's kind of something I wanted to talk about. See,
would you like to talk about your part
now? Yeah, because since you gave me such a good segue, I wanted to talk about the latest couple of seasons of Ultraman, that being Ginga and Ginga Strium is one. I count that as Ginga. Then X, Orb, and the latest one, Zeeg. Now, I know they're probably very good, but after I watched Ginga and Orb, or sorry, not Orb, and X, I kind of got tired of anniversary seasons because all it is just they're using the power-ups of the previous Ultraman to get stronger. And while that is cool, one time they're recycling the idea, and I skipped over Orb because I was really tired of it. It's like, okay, he's like Ginga, except he can fuse the two.
Mm-hmm.
And Zeeg seems to be recycling that, but it also seems to have a darker tone than Orb was going for in the beginning, so I might give that a watch. But Toei, Toho, whoever owns the rights to Ultraman as of this moment, Subarashi, if you could just I don't know if you're watching this, but if you could just I know it's really easy to crank out Ultraman seasons when it's just they're all getting their powers from previous Ultraman, but because I know it sells old toys, overstocked old toys well, but please,
they do that.
Please. Oh yeah, that was the big reason they went with Ginga, is because all of your old Spark dolls, as long as they had that sticker on the foot, worked. So all of your old vinyl figures, I should say.
This is hilarious. That's smart though. That's a smart marketing.
Yeah, they released one or two. They would release one or two new toys, but then it was just a bunch of it was just the vinyl figures. That was like the big selling point for Ultraman.
With their stuff.
Pardon?
It's better than what Toei does. They just give all their old stuff from to Amazon, and then they just hope someone will buy it from Amazon.
Yeah, well, that's what they did with Kamen Rider Amazons.
Mm-hmm. Ha! You made up funny.
No, literally, you can watch Kamen Rider Amazons on Amazon Prime Japan.
But that's a joke in itself.
That's a joke in and of itself, yes, but I think that was also the selling point.
Mm-hmm.
Because it was an Amazon Prime exclusive. By the way, guys, you can open a Japanese Amazon Prime account if you know what you're doing.
You're talking about I was letting you get dinner.
Yep. So Zeeg, I want to talk about Zeeg for a minute. Now he shares this. Yeah. Grab your dinner, come back in. Yeah. But Zeeg is kind of a recycle of Orb in that he fuses two Ultraman powers together in order to create sort of a new form. Now, the difference between him and Orb is unlike Orb, who ended with his Thunder Breaster form, which was a fusion of Zoffy and Ultraman Belial, the evil Ultraman, the Dark Ultraman. Zeeg starts out with a fusion, including Belial. And we recently saw a clip of him transforming, and I think all the gear he's using is a bit overly complex, if you ask me, but I do like his Henshin call. Because what he'll do is he'll place two capsules on a side belt, plug his device in. It's kind of like the O's driver in that respect. And then he'll go, you go, I go, here we go. And as he says, "You go," one Ultraman appears beside him. "I go" is the other Ultraman. And then "Here we go" is when he fuses them. And they did mix up the shapes. They're not just reusing costumes from uh, Orb in this case. Although I think there were some very heavy inspirational tones taken from it. But, that's just nerd speculation. You don't have to believe a word I say. I'm just a guy on the internet. But I am interested in seeing how Zeke goes because I've watched enough of Orb and I've followed it enough to where I can recognize the differences in suit patterns. I just never finished Orb. I got like 5 or 6 episodes in. Not even 5, like more than that. It was like 10. And then I kind of petered out. And oh, hold on just a second. I'm almost done with this stitch. And I like that they kept Belial's eye shape, but they made it blue. I can't remember a time when I've seen an Ultraman with blue eyes.
Hello? 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 Hello?
Hello.